Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. So it's officially April and I really can't believe that already a quarter of the year has passed, but nevertheless I'm really looking forward to this spread. So for the cover I did some florals on a moon. I wanted this month to have sort of like a neutral floral color palette and also some dark blues and grays and stuff like that. So I put the muted colors in the flowers, and I just drew a moon by tracing a circle with like a coaster. I can't remember, but then I just put a few flowers on top, and at the beginning I drew a ton of flowers, but it really looked horrible, so I decided to simplify and only add a few flowers. And the colors I used were like this blush tan color, this brown tan color, and blue. And I didn't really like how the green turned out, so I recommend not using a really bright green or not using a green at all. But also I added a lot of gold accents because I tried to do sort of like a celestial look sort of along with the florals. But then for the moon, instead of using markers like I did for the flowers, I took some of my watercolors and I just took a bunch of blues, and I'm using the wet on wet method directly in my bullet journal, so it might not look as good as it does on watercolor paper, but it's basically just you wet the area that you want to paint and then you just add a few splotches of color on top. And I tried to make mine dark, so I added lots of blues after I stopped the camera filming, but it did bleed through a little bit, so I recommend doing this if you have thicker paper. My paper is 120 GCM and it still bled through, but then it's okay I'm fine with it. It really doesn't matter. And I cleaned up the edges with a small paper towel. I don't know if you guys know this, but wet watercolor can be cleaned up by paper towel. So then on the other side of the spread, I did a quote. Actually, it's just a section of a quote that I'm going to continue onto the next few pages, but in the corner I put a little scrap piece of craft paper, and then I wrote the quote with these typewriter stamps that I got from Michael's, and I really loved how it turned out. And then I just used my gold Jelly Roll pen to add a few gold accents and stars, especially to the moon. So for the cover I just like accented the waves of the wet on wet, and I really think it looked pretty good. Some lines were thicker than the others and it gave it more like a natural look. Then I used my black brush pen to write April, and on the quote side of the page I actually pressed some flowers. I did it in the morning, so they weren't quite ready yet, but I recommend doing it like 2 weeks in advance. But I secured it with washi tape. I have this sort of like newspapery, like the print is a newspaper washi tape that I used along with a sort of like a blush tan washi tape color that sort of matches with the flowers, and then I secured the flowers with some Tombow adhesive, and between those two pages I decided to put a piece of scrap paper so they wouldn't bleed onto each other. And now it's time for my calendar. So in the corner I'm going to do the wet and wet thing that I did for the moon, and this is actually where I'll be putting another section of the quote. I made this one a lot darker than the one on the previous page, and I like this one a lot better, so if you're thinking of doing this, then make sure you do it darker. And then in the corner I also added another piece of scrap craft paper, and I did my calendar stuff on top. So I wrote April and then drew some flowers next to it. I added a lot more gold this time since on the cover I thought that I couldn't really see it. And then I just drew a very simple calendar that's 6 by 6 boxes wide. And I used the other side of like the marker tip side of my Tombow Dual brush pen. For the numbers, I drew some circles in the boxes with a color that I thought matched the like the moon thing pretty well, and I just wrote the numbers on top of that. Usually I make mine really tiny, so the numbers don't usually fit, and also I have big handwriting, so they look funky, but it's okay. Then in the corner I drew some more flowers. I decided to only go with like the warmer tones this time because I thought that there was already enough of the blues on this page, and then I only used gold accents for the leaves. I didn't put any green because I didn't like that. But then for the corner, I'm doing the same thing and accenting the waves with a gold jelly roll, and then I'm using the typewriter stamps again to write another section of the quote. For the bar on the side, I use my typewriter stamps to write goals and highlights, which is what I usually use the sidebar for. And at first I lettered it, but then I didn't like it, so I covered it up with whiteout, which is why it might look kind of weird. So that's why. But now it's time for my inbox page. Again, I'm using craft paper to accent the corner, and then I just did the blue corner thing again, and here's where I'm going to add the last section of my quote. I actually created a key next to my inbox a few weeks ago. I didn't have any free pages, so I just created it next to this because I didn't really know what I was going to do next to it anyways. So I'm also going to add a few accents to the key page to match more with the theme, but I'm really glad I kept it simple so I didn't have to worry about it looking weird and out of place. Now that I am actually done printing this quote in my bullet journal, here's the whole thing. Some people will never get you. Do not spend eternity asking why. People will see you differently. Just cherish those who lift your soul. And it is by Dudinsky from the Garden of Thoughts. On the top of my page, I lettered inbox because that's what it's for, and I also drew some flowers next to it. And then also on the other side of the inbox, I'm going to be putting this sticker that I got, and I'm going to be using some more hopefully. I used it in my weekly spread also. But here's how my inbox page turned out. Here's my brain dump page, which is one of my favorite pages that I have in my bullet journal actually. Usually it gets really crowded and I really like it because it just makes me know, I just feel like I have a place to keep all my ideas and not forget anything. So I did the wet on wet thing surrounding the page, and since the Tombow Dual brush pens are water-based. I didn't really realize this until I started painting with water on them, but they like spread out into the watercolor, so I decided to just leave that, let that be there. I didn't intend for that to happen, but it looked kind of cool, so I kept it that way. And you'll see at the end that I lettered the thing again with my gold jelly roll just because it wasn't very clear, but then I just added a bunch of blues on top to make it match. In the corner, I added another pressed flower with the same washi tapes. I did this to a bunch of other pages, but I just didn't record it, so you can do it. I did it basically in every single corner of each spread. At the end, I'll show you my flip through, so don't worry, you'll probably catch some of it. But then I also did the gold wavy thing. If you don't really get what I'm talking about by this, it's just me like tracing the waves with a gold pen to sort of accent the lines and add a nice metallic touch to it. But if you don't really have any, you can just draw some natural random squiggles and it'll look kind of cool. Okay, so now it's time for my weekly spread. So for this spread, I wanted to try something scrapbooky. So basically, I just took some things from other creators. So that thing that I'm taping right now is a little pocket that I'm gonna put in the corner, and I'm gonna embellish the spread with some stickers and some more pressed flowers along with some washi tape. So in the corner of the spread, I'm just layering the items where I want them to be. So the first layer is going to be some washi tape. Then on top of that, I'm going to add a pressed flower with secured with some washi tape that I used throughout this setup, and then I'm just gonna put the pocket on top, which sort of looks like the other washi tape that I was using, so I'm not gonna add any of that to this corner. But then also I added a sticker from the same sticker set of some leaves on top of the pocket. I didn't record me doing that, but it's there. And in the corner I'm gonna do, oh yeah, here it is. Okay, so in the corner I'm going to do some more of the blue cloudy blurred wet on wet thing, and I'm gonna put some more gold on top. And then on top of or next to that, I using the typewriter stamps to print the days of the week, and most of my spreads are pretty structured. When I first started bullet journaling, I used to do a bunch of these types of spreads, but then I kind of got tired of them. But now I'm gonna revisit them because I'm really looking forward to doing something new in my bullet journal. So here's the new thing. And then after I finish the spread, after I finish printing the days of the week, I used my gold jelly roll to add a lot more gold accents. So I just added some stars and some dots next to the days of the week, and on the other side of the day of the week I also wrote the date. So I could have done it a different way. I didn't really love how this looked, but it looked okay for me. And that's it for the spread, and I really hope you guys have enjoyed watching me plan my April planner. But here comes the final flip through. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in my next video.